Hi, Taylor T. Carlson here, and another classic film has hit the 4K format courtesy of Kino Lorber. But that same film has also gotten, just a few years prior, a special edition Blu-ray release from Arrow Films. The movie I'm talking about is The Apartment, directed by Billy Wilder and starring Jack Lemmon, Fred MacMurray, and Shirley MacLaine. Today we're going to be looking at not one, but two releases of this classic film. The 4K release from Kino Lorber and the Blu-ray only release from Arrow Films. Which one's the superior release and which one should you add to your collection? I'm going to do an assessment of the movie, what features you get in each, the quality of the transfers, and so forth, and see if I can help you make a clear decision here. We'll get started by unboxing the Kino Lorber 4K release, which also includes the film and supplemental features on an accompanying Blu-ray. Here's our front cover. Great artwork there. And this, of course, has a slip cover, so we'll take that off. Underneath the slip cover, pretty much the same thing. And inside we have our two discs. We've got a 1080p Blu-ray that has the film and the bonus features, and then we have the 4K that's just the film and commentary tracks. Now we'll take a look at the Blu-ray only version from Arrow Video. Here's our cover art, spine, back cover. Inside here we actually have an insert for whatever that's supposed to be. Too bad my uncle's not here who reads Japanese. And then here's an ad for Arrow. And if you look at the back here, this is actually a reversible sleeve. Disappointingly, the Kino doesn't have reversible art, but we'll flip-flop this real quick and see what the alternate art looks like. Here it is with the alternate artwork. This one looks a little more retro, maybe more akin to what you'd see on movie posters back then. Of course, you got all your special features listed, legalese, credits, and so forth. The Apartment is one in a very long line of films that was directed by Billy Wilder. It was written by Wilder and his usual co-writing collaborator, I.A.L. Diamond. In addition to probably having the coolest name ever, that guy was one hell of a screenwriter. This was their follow-up to Some Like It Hot, the infamous cross-dressing comedy that was such a hit the previous year. I've actually done a review for that on my channel as well. I'll put a link to that up above. But this time around, it goes for a little more of a comedy drama. Jack Lemmon plays C.C. Baxter, or Buddy Boy, or Bud for short, as he's often called. He works in a huge insurance business in New York City, and he has a crush on the cute but insecure elevator operator played by Shirley MacLaine. Of course, Bud tries to get ahead in the business by loaning out his apartments to some of the more sleazy characters in the office, and by doing this he gains their favor and hopes to get plenty of promotions and move up the corporate ladder. Meanwhile, as he sets his sights on this beautiful young elevator operator, her estranged ex wants to get back together with her. Did I mention that that character happens to be the man who's Bud's immediate supervisor at the insurance office? Now, Billy Wilder could have just made another funny, hilarious, laugh-out-loud comedy like Some Like It Hot, and I'm sure audiences would have eaten it up. But I like that he tried for something a little deeper here, and The Apartment, which runs just over 2 hours, is a fantastic film that runs the gamut from much more comedic, funny sequences to darker, more dramatic stuff. The film is actually surprisingly straightforward when it comes to matters like sex, divorces, affairs, stuff that was certainly still considered taboo to an extent in the late 50s, early 60s when this movie was made. The casting is absolutely perfect. Jack Lemmon is the young, idealistic guy who will do anything to get with the woman of his dreams and to climb the corporate ladder, even if it means letting his superiors and their mistresses use his apartment. Shirley MacLaine's elevator operator is a surprisingly deep character, but To go too into that would be to go into spoiler territory, and I don't really want to do that here. And you have Fred MacMurray as her estranged love interest and Bud's immediate supervisor in the office. MacMurray at the time was best known for being in a lot of family-friendly Disney films, and a lot of parents unknowingly took their kids to the apartment thinking they were getting a Fred MacMurray Disney film, only to be very shocked with what they got when they got to the theater. Due to the reception of his shady character in this film, he vowed never to play a role like that again. But it's a shame because he plays this part so well. Also in the movie, in a supporting part, is Ray Walston. He would later be known as the character Mr. Hand in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which just goes to show how well and diverse cast a movie this is. You gotta love the look of the corporate office. I mean, we're still looking at surroundings like that 60 plus years later. And the crew even uses some really innovative tricks to make the office space that Buddy Boy's on look even bigger than it actually is, including using smaller desks and children in the very back. Something I never would have known if I hadn't read that otherwise. This is a great movie. Nice mix of comedy and drama. Problem is I can't really get too into the story without going into spoiler territory. Believe it or not, prior to getting these discs, I had not seen the movie before. But I think it's almost instantly become one of my personal favorites. And I'm very happy with what I see here, and that we get not one but two excellent releases of this classic motion picture. And here we get into the versus scenario, which is inevitable when you have not one but two releases of the film. We'll start by talking about picture quality. The Arrow release had a 4K master that was struck specifically for that release, and it was an excellent looking 4K master in 1080p that easily was the best the film had ever looked in HD. Easily besting even the prior MGM release, which actually was not half bad looking based on what I've read. I don't own that release, so I can't do a direct comparison. But Arrow, with their 4K release, really cranks things up to 11, and it is one of the best looking classic black and white films I have ever seen on 4K. I was a little disappointed when I heard there wouldn't be any HDR applied to this transfer, but honestly, I couldn't really tell the difference because this looked just so good. They did an excellent job bringing this movie to the 4K format. I'm not really clear if this is the same master that Arrow utilized for their 1080p Blu-ray, just shown in its native resolution, or if this is sourced from a different master altogether. I also want to add that the Blu-ray transfer that's included with the Kino Lorber 4K is actually an older, inferior-looking master, clearly not stricken from the same source that was used for the far superior 4K discs. So, as far as picture quality goes, I have to give it to the 4K release from Kino Lorber because, again, one of the best looking black and white films I've ever seen on the 4K format. Although Arrow's 1080p version is certainly no slouch, and people who don't have a 4K player should absolutely invest in that version. Bonus features is where we start to get to another divide. The version that we get from Kino Lorber has its bonus features on the accompanying 1080p Blu-ray. There's a pair of featurettes, 2 commentary tracks, including a new one for that release, and then several trailers for other Billy Wilder films. And I have to say, it is a little disappointing to see that the Kino package is pretty delinquent in terms of supplements. The Arrow has all of those supplements with the exception of the newer commentary track and the Wilder trailers, but it also has a ton of stuff that was assembled just for the Arrow release, so it puts the Kino to shame in terms of bonus features. I mean, it's too bad we can't get a 4K release of the film from Arrow that has an accompanying copy of the Blu-ray because, again, it's Arrow who wins in the special features department, but Kino wins in the picture quality department because they have the native 4K disc here. So which one of these should you buy? Unfortunately, there's no real clear answer to that question because each one of these two packages wins in a different area. If you have a 4K player, I strongly recommend getting the Kino Lorber 4K, but then, at the same time, the Arrow release has a lot of stuff that you don't get in the Kino Lorber package. So I hate to say it, but if you're a big fan of the film, I have to say buy both of these releases. You can probably get them both for a pretty decent price these days, but you never know when they might go out of print, so you might want to act now. I mean, honestly, what I'm probably going to do is take my Kino Lorber disc, pull the Blu-ray out, swap that with the Aero disc, put that in here, and just keep that. And then maybe give the Kino Lorber Blu-ray to a friend of mine. So really, I have to recommend both of these because, again, each one excels in a different area. Kino wins it for picture quality because it's a native 4K disc. Aero wins it for the bonus features. Are you a fan of The Apartment? Is it your favorite Billy Wilder film? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, let me know which one of these two releases you picked up or plan to pick up. And be sure you give this video a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. See you next time.